Welcome to Diaries of a Data Scientist, our podcast in which we share about what's important to break into data science, provide valuable insights also for senior data scientists, and invite interesting guests from different data science areas. We're Yasmin and Kate, we're both data scientists and mentors working in industry, and we are sharing here our thoughts and experiences. Let's go! Welcome everybody to a new episode of Diaries of a Data Scientist. It's episode 16 already, and today we're gonna talk about a super interesting topic of how you can stay connected with your academic side while working in industry, working a corporate job as a data scientist. And I think this is really, really interesting because many people think, once you've went one or the other way, it's done and over. But definitely we'll hear today that this is not the case.
Yep. And just from my side, I'm very, very much happy to come back after how many weeks? 4 or 5 weeks that we
Oh
have
my God, 5
already
weeks?
taken
Yes.
sort of, vacation for ourselves. I have my body is all over the emotions. So we can definitely start with this amazing topic.
Okay, yeah, great. So, the way that many data scientists get into the job is still somewhat traditional in the sense that many of us have been visiting university, doing their bachelor's and master's there. Some of us, right, Kate, like you, have also doing 2 masters at a time. Then some of the people decide to pursue also a PhD because they want to get deeper into one specific topic. They want to get a even more profound education in that area. And some even might stay for a postdoc for a couple of years. But I'm pretty sure that everyone at some point is asking themselves the question, should I continue with the academic track? Or should I switch over to industry, and especially when to do that, right?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it was a little bit hard to find statistics for Europe and Germany on this topic, but we found the really, really nice AI index report from Stanford, which just basically was published a couple of weeks back. And here we can clearly see a trend that more and more PhD candidates, after they finish their PhD, are switching over to industry. So basically, meanwhile, 70%, and this year was added another 5 percentage points, so 75% of PhDs are switching to industry. So that's exactly 3/4. And
It's a
if this
huge
trend
number.
is continuing, so academia is also going to have a little bit of a talent shortage problem. And it seems like it's not just that, but also that in the past year, basically, the higher number of machine learning models were contributed by industry, 51 versus 15 by academia, which could have different reasons of funding and so on. But we see industry is making a significant contribution to the progress as well. So it doesn't mean that if you're deciding to join a company, the industry, especially like the big tech ones with big research areas, that you could not contribute anymore to research. But today we're going to show you that you don't also have to join big tech to stay connected with that side.
Definitely. Maybe as an off top to what you've just said, I just want to have, let's say, a couple of minutes just to think a little bit why this is happening. I mean, why we do have this kind of statistics that we're seeing data scientists, as you said, 65 or 75%, like those are huge numbers, are leaving the academia and going back, or like maybe not back, but decide for themselves to switch to the industry part. And this is something which is really interesting for me. You know why? Because kind of that I very much love studying. And I think that if you love statistics, the old beautiful statistic, or like the old beautiful mathematics, and you are going crazy about, I don't know, doing research about different estimators, about biases, variances, and so on and so forth, maybe your place definitely in the academia, but industry does not provide this opportunity as of nowadays. So I'm just interested and curious, why would you have this kind of trend? Do you have any thoughts? Because I don't have it, honestly. I'm just trying to get my brain together right now to get any kind of opinions.
I think it's not that you couldn't, work with this more traditional statistics as you've put it,
Mhm.
when being in industry. But I think these positions are getting, more
Yeah.
rare, because, when you're working in industry, even if you're doing a little bit like more of a research leaning kind of work,
Mhm.
you're always going to be connected to a product, right? Because um,
Yeah.
only very, very few companies, for-profit companies, are really doing broad research, which is not connected to
To
at
the
some point
product.
productize it, right? So it's
Mhm.
always gonna be a little bit more narrow in that sense of what you're gonna do there. Um,
Mhm.
or you're gonna have to be very, very good in building a business case of why this fundamental research is kind of, needed, and how you could at some point monetize on that for your
Mhm.
company. So
Mhm.
I think it's not that you can't do it, but it's definitely getting more rare. And I think, with the kind of continued trend we're seeing around how fast AI has been moving, and just,
Yeah.
industry trying to keep up with it. Um,
Yeah.
Data
For sure.
scientists are mostly needed at other, at other places in that area to bring the
Mhm.
company forward. So I think
Yeah.
that's just like this shift has been happening. But as we see from
Mhm.
the numbers, this is not stopping AI PhD specifically. So the
Yeah,
numbers for
definitely
AI
it affords,
PhDs
yeah. Mhm.
to switch to industry. And I think that has several different reasons. I mean, salary can always be
One of the
a big
factors.
factor, yeah,
Mhm.
obviously. But I think for many people, especially in our generation, it's more than just a salary. Maybe it's also the way of working, or, you know,
Mhm.
kind of the job safety in that sense.
I
I mean,
totally understand this, yeah.
here in Europe, we definitely have like a say higher job safety compared to, I
Like
guess, the
academia?
US. Yeah,
Or
no, but
okay.
also the US in general. But
Mhm.
also here in academia, you will always get mostly temporary contract. It's very hard to get to that uh, junior and, a full
I
grown
understand. Mhm.
professor positions. And I guess in
Mhm.
that sense, many people are a little bit of craving stability nowadays.
Okay, that is pretty interesting because I've never, kind of you brought the light to this perspective because I'm not really much familiar how is that happening in Germany, even though that I'm living here, which is quite funny. But also what I thought about, like when you started talking about the industry, is perhaps industry, as you said totally correctly, this is maybe the financial factor for people to switch to the totally opposite part from the academia one. And the second part is that perhaps the industry, at least nowadays, will give you more opportunities, to kind of grow and to shine in the industry. Because if you do have this people skills, yeah, to be able to communicate, to be able to explain, and also if you would love to go to different conferences, and if you would really love to contribute to the data science community and the AI, let's say, growth, you can very easily do that. I mean, like, this is my perspective. You can do this much more easier than in the academia level.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what is also quite interesting, so it's the numbers also are showing it's not just that more AI PhDs are switching to industry, also less of
Mm-hmm.
them are coming back to academia at some point. So, usually there's a little bit more dynamic exchange, and some people, after staying a while in industry, either want to come
Mm-hmm.
back, or they want to, get to the next level in academia. And that number actually has been decreasing from 13% to nowadays 7%.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's lower migration from high level AI talent from industry to back to academia. So it's also, not just maybe the initial short term
Yes.
gains,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also maybe a little bit more attractive overall career
Mm-hmm.
development perspectives or prospects.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. But in either way, I think it's very important for organizations to recognize that, kind of, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how many people are migrating to industry, that a big chunk of data scientists are interested in
Yes.
this, and they also need it for their
Collaborations.
job to to have the collaborations, to get the
Mm-hmm.
insights, what's happening outside of the company, what's happening in academia. Because I think
Yes.
the most important kind of nudges are still coming from that area. Yeah. And
Definitely.
that's very important. So as a company, you should think about, how can I kind
Mm-hmm.
of accommodate that.
Supported, right?
Exactly, how can I support that drive,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just shutting it down and saying like, you've made your decision now, so stay with it.
Just
And
stayed in there, yes, yeah.
exactly.
Also, it was pretty funny. Just like sorry to interrupt you for 1 second. I just had a talk quite recently with one of my friends. He's a data scientist. He finished his PhD recently. He told me something that it's something that we kind of have in our job descriptions. That we are data scientists, sort of we are scientists, and that is why it is part of our responsibility and our job to catch up with everything what is happening in the world. And I mean, like specifically what is happening definitely in the research field as well. So maybe we can start right now, telling our audience and our people why is that is so important and why is that beneficial. If you are a data scientist in the industry, why is that so important for you to have these collaborations with the universities?
Absolutely. So, what is your top 3 reasons, or benefits to allow that for
Oh,
your
it's a
data
lot.
scientists and even support that?
It's a lot. It's a bunch of them. So the first one I would say is gonna be, as I told you all the time, I don't know 1,000% a curious person, if this kind of number even exists as 1,000%, and that is why with the research you kind of you have this continuous learning. And also why is that so important? And I guess it is one of the main pain points for, let's say, any data scientist who would love to stay in like in the age of the data science field and to be very like well known in the data science industry,
Mhm.
is definitely to catch up with what is happening in the research field. It's not like only necessary to understand what is happening in the industry, in the data science field, but also to have the total like opposite side to see what is happening in the academia level. And sometimes you can sort of bring those two dots together as a kind of Gauss distribution, connected. I have goosebumps again right now, connected, and you will have sort of a huge picture, right?
Yeah, and I think it's not
Also,
about just, trying to copy, paste all of the
mm,
cutting edge, state of the art. I just love that abbreviation SOTA, state of the art, always when reading papers.
yes.
Um, it's not about copy pasting that and trying to put everything into action at your organization, right? But if it's just like that one tiny cookie crumb that helps you
Hmm.
spark a new idea of how to connect it with existing products, or
Yeah.
maybe bring products into a different direction, or maybe one other alternative you're trying out now and see
Hmm.
a very significant increase in accuracy, and I don't know, dropping costs, also making easier the adoption of certain AI solutions if they are better working, right? It has been
Uh-huh.
worth it. It has been worth it, putting time into that. But of course, it is a time investment. We will come to some of the like
Hmm.
prerequisites for that later, right? But for now,
Hmm.
completely agree. Continuous learning. It's just
Yes.
really one of the main important points. And as you said, you have to do it
Hmm.
anyway. And it's not just about academia, but also, what's going on open source community, what's going on in
Yeah,
other
definitely.
compared organizations.
Yeah, maybe just in here, I kind of recall one of the examples where like I'm very much thankful to BSF to organize that, and you as a part of this activity as well. If you remember, we had the IBM explainable AI workshop for data scientists and BSF. And what I really want to emphasize in here that we had 2 days like hands-on programming, and like we had lectures from the IBM guys.
Yeah.
What is explainable AI? Why is it important for the industry? Why is it important for the research field? But also, what it was really cool that they kind of had this, you know, intersection of research and industry, because they have invited a professor to talk about explainable AI and why is it important and what is going on in the research field in this matter. And also he brought up some statistics. And that for me was quite interesting that the XAI field actually started in 2016. Right now it is 2024. And then that was the kind of the moment that I was,
Hmm.
wow, I didn't know about that. For example, I thought it just started like coming up maybe a couple of years ago.
Wow, and
but not from
if you're
2016.
interested in hearing more about explainable AI, let us know because this might
Yeah.
be a great episode topic for one of the future episodes. So let us know if you want to hear more about that.
So what about you, Rasmir? What do you think? So we had firstly continuous learning. What is your favorite one?
Yeah. So you know, sometimes I'm switching into this little bit more of an organizational view in that sense,
Yes.
since becoming a team lead, which I think is exactly what you need in that point.
Of course.
I see it also overall that there's a lot of potential in it for organizations if you create an environment and support also data scientists and staying connected with academia. For one, absolutely. I mean, just from hearing you talking about that and
Mm-hmm.
hearing many other feedbacks from that kind of training which was organized, I think it's a great way to retain top talent in your company because, you know, as mentioned, a big chunk of data scientists are interested in doing that. You would definitely kind of, you know, miss out on opportunity if you wouldn't support these talents in pursuing that interest. So I
Mm-hmm.
think also I see it from a kind of talent development, talent retention kind of point that I think, you know, everyone is excited. You will long term think about, oh, this was
Uh-huh.
quite such a great event, right? And it's also connecting with some of the other kind of
Mm-hmm.
research interested data scientists in your organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, I definitely also see, you know, thinking about more collaborations with university and I also know that we have explicit kind of scouting activities at our companies as well, right? Where we really formally organize collaborations with universities. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's so helpful to bring in kind of fresh perspectives and very high quality fresh perspectives as such. So in several different collaborations, we're working together with different universities, with different level of students as well from different cultural areas. And I think this is just bringing in so much more kind of
Yes.
exciting ideas. And
Mm-hmm.
also you can train your data scientists to take over a slightly kind of different role in that sense of, you know, being more a link between different parties.
Mm-hmm.
Fostering different collaboration skills and communication skills, taking over supervision of students, you know,
Yes.
teaching them how to write a paper and so on. So actually things that you would also normally have done if working in academia,
Yeah.
supervising students, co-working on
Yes.
papers and so on. So you kind of give them a glimpse of that experience while working in your corporate job. And I think that's just a super exciting
Yes.
combination. And
Yes.
obviously if successful, right, you will
Mm-hmm.
get out hopefully some very nice contributions for your company that you'll maybe able to patent on, yeah, and
Yeah.
publish as part of big conferences, you know, renowned conferences, and get a
Mm-hmm.
extra big drop of employer branding in that sense of placing your company alongside other, you know, high quality employers from academia and industry.
Yeah. And
So this
maybe
was my pitch. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
please come to BASF. We create not only chemistry but also data science talents. Yeah, so you know what, I also kind of you touched the topic of supervising students, and I guess this is, I'm not sure if it is my second favorite, but definitely one of the toppest ones, maybe even the first, my favorite part of collaborations with the universities, that you can supervise the students and help them to write their maybe term papers, etc. So why is that important? I have reflected on this a little bit, is kind of has the same reason as why I decided to start this podcast partially, and also started doing like mentorships outside of BSF and writing little like posts and articles, is because the more kind of you got experience in the data science field, like you more you got to the senior positions and like team lead positions, the less you got connected to the current pain points of the students. And then the less you remember how tough that was
Mm-hmm.
in the very first steps when doing your
You,
data
yeah, you
science
just started
degrees.
out with your career. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm like, if you really want to contribute not only to the companies, not only to the experts, but also kind of share your experience with the students, you need to have connection with them,
Yeah.
and you need to understand what is happening in that field. And teaching and mentoring with the students in the universities really saves you a lot of time, and you can really see a broad perspective of the
Yes.
data science field.
It's kind of also, a part of kind of, contributing, giving back to your community, to society in that sense of taking
Mm-hmm.
on, the job of mentoring, guiding like a young person or
Yeah,
let's say younger person. Yeah.
younger person.
And yeah, I just love that. And I think this is a really part of the job that are very, very fulfilling. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's just, I think, it's very important to think about different dimensions, like both in your life, but also in your professional career that
Mm-hmm.
that you would like to make progress with. And for me, like working with students was
Mm-hmm.
always a very, very important point. Either they are like internally, like working students, interns, whatever, but also, co-working with students who are currently at university, who we
Yeah.
can help with certain, getting data science experience in the industry. I think this is just a great way of staying connected, as you said, and also it's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes a very humbling experience, and I like that.
Yeah, definitely. And also, just something that just came up to my mind, they are going to challenge you because once you got connected to the students, they're going to ask you some questions. And perhaps they will, you got with your students to some fields that you never worked at actually as a data scientist. And you also need to learn a lot in this sense. And you also need to learn the kind of people skills in order to manage and supervise them.
Yeah,
That's really
they
amazing.
kind of show you the white spots, like where you
Hmm.
still have to develop. And I think this is a
Yeah,
great navigator of laying out
yeah,
the next goals. And
yeah.
by the way, how are your 2024 goals doing?
Oh, actually, it is amazing. I'm catching up with them, and
Awesome.
I don't know what. I guess that I have showed you right that I bought specifically this kind of thing.
Yes.
I love it a lot, and I love it a lot because you would have let me off top conversation. So you
No,
would
no,
have
no
the
advertisement.
not of course. So you would have the day, and you would have like your priorities in here, and then the schedule of the meetings right in here. And then you can
Mm.
also kind of reflect a little bit on the day, but also you have notes in here. So, which kind of gives you a lot of freedom to write, because this is something that I hate about the diaries, that you have
Hmm.
no paper where you can put your thoughts in. And this is a lifesaver because I can track everything what is happening. What about you?
Hmm. Great. Are you using that only for your like, personal goals, or are you using that structure as well for your work meetings and stuff?
Also, both.
Mm, great. Yeah,
Like,
I think
yeah,
it's important to integrate that because
yeah,
otherwise you have to
definitely.
keep track of two kind of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What about you? Same, still on track?
Oh my God. It has been a ride so far this year, I have to say. I mean, we're very, very busy in the work area. I
I
think
know.
many of the dimensions that I've laid out for myself, I kind of already overfilled, and others are
Hmm.
like really under what
Forgotten.
I've yeah
Uh-huh.
kind of neglected a little bit. So I have this kind of skew now in my resolutions for 2024. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
have now to take a step back, calibrate, and rebalance, thinking
Mm-hmm.
about it like a portfolio. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but honestly,
Investments.
it's okay for me. I think you're also at a certain point, if you're feeling under or overwhelmed in whatever area, sometimes it's okay to go with the flow, but always
Mm-hmm.
kind of connecting back. Not and it's
Yeah.
the most important thing I think is checking in with yourself, how you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and not just the next time entering in your goals in 2025 and then checking
Yeah.
with yourself. So I think just having this regular
Yeah.
time,
Checks.
yeah, reflection times, I think that's actually the more important part.
Yeah.
It's not about you know over performing on all of your self set
And
out
yeah.
resolutions.
Well, just final word from my side, and then we can go back switch to the actual topic, is that what actually really helped me is, that my Notion account was deleted entirely, and with all of my goals, everything. And that is why I had a couple of weeks when I had to kind of to rebuild it from scratch. And that really helped me a lot to stay in the track and to prioritize maybe like a little bit differently. I'm really at that time I was very pissed at that situation, but right now I think I'm very much grateful
You're kind
because
of grateful for it. Yeah,
um
awesome.
it kept me stay on track. Yeah. But let's go back to the benefits. Yes. So maybe, to add to it, like you've mentioned two really important and amazing things as um the collaboration with the universities will increase your professional branding. Yeah, and also you touched a little bit of the innovations from the kind of
Mhm.
company's perspective. Just want to highlight it, maybe like even like more bold, sort of that when you're working and collaborating with the universities, being a data scientist in the industry, it definitely will enhance your resume because people will perceive you not just a person that goes to the office and doing like data science job. Like I'm really sometimes feel a little bit tempted to say 9 to 5 because I would think that people will treat it as disrespectful or something like that. That is why I need to add something to this point. And that is why they will see that you're so passionate about the data science field, that you can contribute a lot, that you're doing a lot. And that is why it brings you a totally different perspective from the company side. And when you are, like going to interview for different positions, different companies, maybe because of that, you will be invited to different conferences, to different like talk shows, podcasts, and etc. If you are interested, of course, in this kind of professional development. And the second part of the innovations that you have touched, that when you have this connection to the universities, you will have a broad picture of what is happening in the data science field and with the current developments. And you can take some tiny pieces out of there in order to implement them in
Mhm.
your corporate life, in your company to kind of you're not copying pasting, as you also very like totally correctly said in the very beginning, but you take some pieces and parts of that to incorporate in
Yeah.
your data science pipelines, projects, methods, and etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Amazing. But now we heard a lot about why you should do it, why you should do it for yourself, why you should do it as a company.
mhm.
But what is needed to accomplish that? And are there also maybe um, possible downsides to it?
Oh well, yeah, definitely. So let's maybe talk firstly about what you need in order to do that.
Mhm.
And I guess firstly, what you need to have sounds pretty silly, but you need to want that, right? To work as a data scientist in the industry, to have collaborations with the universities. Without you wish you nothing's gonna happen in there.
Yeah.
And I
And never
guess
underestimate the importance of will.
of well, yeah, definitely. And also, I guess it's really important to have so that your company would have, or like your department will have collaborations with the universities. And in case if it does not have it, that as we always said, you use media said it quite often times, then go ahead and do it by yourself. You can reach out to universities, you can reach out to professors, you just need to have an approval from your company. And I guess
Yes.
it is a very easy idea to pitch to the company in order to have this approval from them.
Yeah. And I mean, there are different kind of formats, right? It's not always about starting the major collaboration, which also maybe costs some
Yeah.
money for the organization. It's not about that, right? But there's different channels and different formats
Mm-hmm.
that you can get started with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is going to be kind of, let's say, the first channel of how you can proceed with this part. The second channel that I can kind of imagine of is if you will attend different conferences and different workshops, because as we also said in the very beginning, part of your responsibility as a data scientist is be aware and catch up with what is going on in the field nowadays, and not just have the knowledge of, I don't know, 19th century or something like that. So that is why it is better to go to the conferences where you can also have these collaborations. You can also network with professors. And
Yes.
actually, something what I've noted quite recently, and right now it is kind of sort of a joke, that if you are a tech person on a conference and you have a little bit of people skills, you have a greater potential to get very nice collaborations because you're like among 5% who actually can communicate with people. Yes. And then you can bring those guys.
I mean, like you have a smaller
Yes.
pool of competition in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Interesting thought. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, how can you attend conferences? Kind of two ways, right? Either you're invited because you've published
Hmm.
a great paper and it has been accepted and you're one of the authors,
Yeah.
or you have to pay a ticket
Yeah.
and
Or your company
visit.
can also pay the
Yeah.
ticket.
Yeah, no, no, that's what I
Mhm.
kind of
Oh,
meant.
okay.
You know,
Hmm.
your
Okay.
cost center has, yeah. I mean, I also know some people who are doing it outside privately because they say, "Oh,
Hmm.
I'm just super interested in that area, but it has like nothing to do with my work."
Hmm.
And for them, it's like more like of a leisure lifestyle thing in that sense, also okay. But yes, of
Hmm.
course, if it's connected to your work, you had made your pitch and you convinced your kind of management that this is worth it. I mean, yes, your
Yeah,
company
of
should
course.
and possibly can pay for it.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
also, maybe just to add on here, that you can also be a member of different like organizations, like professional scientific organizations, or you can be a part of different communities, like in data science and academic ones. And also, I guess this is possible for the experts outside of the universities to attend some seminars, like workshops organized by the universities.
Yeah, that definitely. And I mean, there, for example, in Germany, we have the German Data Science Society.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like a part of that society, for example, as a company, you can attend certain events. You can get access also, to talk to a different network, talk to other organizations who are part of that society. And it's just that's a really really nice. I mean, it's not only industry, but also obviously. Um, Hosted by major universities in Germany as well, and I really really like that connection. And
Mm-hmm.
just check them
Mm-hmm.
out. Could be interesting as well. But of course, also you could think about as a company to sponsor certain parts of such a conference, right? Sometimes you
Yeah.
have the chance to sponsor workshops,
Mm-hmm.
other kind of tracks or things like that, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
obviously a little bit of a bigger financial investment
Yeah.
in that sense, but it can really be an investment of a like highlighting to your data scientist, hey, this is an important topic to me, but also again like to present yourself as a possible employer, obviously.
Yeah, definitely, of course. And as I would always say, in the eyes of the other people, you would dramatically, I guess, increase your personal branding and professional branding when you are, proposing, like offering such initiatives to the management. So maybe right now we can switch a little bit and talk about the downsides, because I mean, like, it's having collaborations with the university, spending a little bit of your working time, perhaps as we are doing this, our private time, and etc. Right? uh, it can definitely have downsides, and you need to be maybe very disciplined with your schedule, with reflecting and kind of checking with yourself how you're doing. If that work, if like you have this energy and free time capacity to, to be in both worlds together. So what
Yes.
do you think, Yasmin, on this point?
Yes, I think that's a very very important point, right? That if you're doing that as part of your job, you have to balance priorities and you have
Mm-hmm.
to kind of, as you said, to manage your own time very well. And I think very most importantly, just to set very clear expectations and being good alignment with your with kind of your stakeholders
Yeah.
at work in that sense, right? That nobody has a false impression about what you should be working on while you're actually currently taking some hours out of your day to keep
Mm-hmm.
up with what's going on in research, for example, right? That you always have to kind of balance that with maybe more operative things going on, project deadlines coming up, and that can be, yeah, a tough
Mm-hmm.
cookie. from time to time. But
Yeah, of
I
course.
think that's why it's very important just to um, again to reflect for yourself what is
Mm-hmm.
possible for you to accomplish and be realistic about that, and
Mm-hmm.
also like to plan in a buffer for unexpected challenges or unexpected things popping up, because we all know how it goes. Yeah, you've
Mm-hmm.
wonderfully planned out your week. Monday morning, like something pops up and it's just like, crashing your whole schedule.
Yeah.
And you have to live with that, and then you just have to reprioritize. But that's why I think it's most importantly, this will add an little bit of an overhead of communication and alignment
Yeah.
with yourself, but also with your stakeholders.
Yeah, totally agree with everything that you've just mentioned. And maybe like just for me, from my perspective, for me, it's one of the most important parts is to really have a very decent schedule for myself and really keep track of my time. Like, let's say that I'm spending 80% on the industry and 20% on the university and collaborations and doing such activities and etc. So in order to avoid those like maybe like pretty bad emotional states, we do have them sometimes. So like it's kind of, caring of yourself, of your time, giving yourself time to chill, to relax, and etc.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And what I can definitely not recommend is to kind of see it like, 5 days a week you're just focusing on your normal professional work, and then you're doing everything in your free time on the weekend or
Yeah.
so. Yeah, that's why it's important to try to connect it with your work schedule, convince
Mm-hmm.
your organization that this is a worthwhile investment, and
Mm-hmm.
exactly that you're not coming into this like kind of personal um bad situation of thinking you have to do everything, y- and then try to accomplish that in the 2 days on your weekend,
Yeah.
when you actually have to really also recharge, and there's other
Definitely.
things in life also. So that's why
Yeah.
it's, we're trying to bring up this topic, right? It's not a either or, and it's not about doing this under the weekend, this on the weekend. It's about how
Mm-hmm.
can you maybe find sweet spots of connecting the topics, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of at the same time creating value for multiple parties,
Yeah.
and not crushing your own life
Yeah, with
plans and
overachieving, etc.
exactly.
Yeah. And I've just kind of recalled one of the phrases that I very much loved. So from one of the businessmen, he said that treat your free time as a part of business process. So if you would visualize like yourself as a company, like company Yasmin and company Kate, that we have sounds pretty cool, right? So we do have kind of different departments, I don't know, like responsible for mentoring, data science, leading people, communities, and etc. And you have also a department for resting. And this is something, and this the business process that you definitely have to be really cautious about.
I wish my, I don't know, 22-old self could listen to that podcast episode of me talking
Me
about
too.
this. It was definitely a journey. All right. So
Yeah.
what else is a possible caveat that you should navigate around? I think it's also, as mentioned,
Hmm.
very important to be a little bit selective about what research you're trying to, keeping up with, what
Yeah.
collaborations you're trying to establish. So I think if you're a company, and the organization should support that and should also give you the kind of flexibility,
Hmm.
freedom to do that.
Hmm.
Obviously, it has to somewhat be connected to what your organization needs. It's not
Yeah.
about with every single thing that a
Hmm.
new patent or a new paper or whatever needs to come out of it, right? But it
Hmm.
has somewhat to have that connection to what your company is doing or trying to achieve.
It is important, and I guess it is even more important when you have a manager without a technical like degree in data science. So it's a manager from business management part, and that it I guess become very much crucial, because if you will go with the argument that being aware of what is happening in the academia is part of my job, yeah, but you can be, I guess, you can get very easily to the situation that it's like you are allowed to do whatever you would love to have in the free time, which is not okay, I guess, in this case, in this sense. And that is why what it just has been said is a very strong argument to your management why you should spend a couple of like 10% of your working time on such collaborations. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in the end, as already mentioned, right, being in alignment, avoiding
Hmm.
any potential conflicts of interest that could happen along that journey. I think
Yeah.
you definitely don't want to, come out of that having input time and then have a negative standing in some
Hmm.
points in your
Hmm.
organization. So I
Definitely.
think
Yeah.
that's not the point, right? But at the end, as mentioned, creating trust in what you're trying to accomplish there,
Hmm.
demonstrating the benefits, making it understandable of why this connection makes sense, and at the end,
Hmm.
creating mutual value. And I think you're golden if you follow that
Yes.
recipe. And obviously, it sounds easier than doing it.
Yeah.
But we've seen it in companies, we've seen it across,
We're
people
both
sharing
doing
their
that.
stories on LinkedIn. Yes,
Hmm.
it can be done.
Yeah,
And yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and the final words from our side, I guess today, I guess this is something very important that I wanted to highlight, that you're totally free to firstly try the industry and then say, okay, this is not maybe my place to be, and then go back to the academia. And that, maybe also you can find yourself after 3 years working in academia that this is not again for you, and maybe you would love to go back to the industry. This is absolutely normal. This is absolutely okay. You don't have to stick with one of two parts like till the end of your life, and you're totally free to choose wherever you would love to. So please do not restrict yourselves to be in only one industry or academia. And I guess this is all for us for today, and I promise we'll never actually, I hope so, disappear for that amount of time. If you would have any questions, please feel free to reach us out on LinkedIn, or we also do have comments for Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Really happy to see you on YouTube as well if you would have any comments in there. So see you in 2 weeks.
see you, have
Bye
a good
bye.
time.
This was Diaries of a Data Scientist by Yasmin and Kate. And if you enjoyed the episode, remember to check out our YouTube channel and our LinkedIn pages for more engaging content from the data science world. Thank you for today, and seeing you in the comments.